the Daily Millionaire News. Sorry, getting started a little bit late. I actually just completed an interview that I will be uploading over the next couple hours. That interview was a lot of fun. We actually talk about are we headed for a crash? And we specifically focus on three big buckets. The first bucket being single family homes, then multifamily, and then the stock market. So I thought that was a pretty good interview, lots of good topics. And again, this is part of our weekly series with Greg Dickerson. So make sure you check that out. Given my gym schedule and bandwidth, it probably won't be up for a couple of hours, but look for that sometime today. As for the daily millionaire news, lots of stuff going on, lots of articles caught my attention. Some of these are going to turn out to be questions for you, but I'd just love to hear what you have to think. And then horizontal is an overwhelming thumbs up. So we will be recording all of these lives via horizontal from now on. Thank you for the suggestions and the help. First off, IMF. IMF talked about the global economy, specifically global growth, and they are lowering their global forecast. My history with the IMF and kind of watching them over the last couple of decades is they're kind of late a lot, right? Their calls for lowering and raising often are late. I think this is likely going to produce one of those times. I think the global economy has hit the slow spot for, I don't know, certainly the next couple of years. I think it's really set up to have a good couple of years here. As manufacturing gets kicked off, as trade wars kind of subside, and the global economy gets back to producing things. We still have some stuff in Europe to deal with, right? The UK Brexit thing. We have some stuff in South America to deal with, some stuff in Asia, but overall, the big issues are kind of behind us, and we're going to get going. So oh, thank you. I'm glad you like that. Yeah, I like Dr. Kenyon. He's a special individual doing what he does during the day and then helping people. He was a lot of fun. So again, I think the IMF is late. I don't really. They're not one of those leading economists who kind of risks themselves. They're kind of a slow, moving organization that's kind of looking at the scoreboard and go, look, the score. So, anyways, I did see an article that I thought was interesting about capitalism, and I thought we should talk about it. It basically went on to say that capitalism does more harm than good, which I'm not really sure how you measure that. Based on the article, it went in to talk about a couple of things that I thought were scary. The first one being that they asked people, do you think you'll be better off 5 years from now than today? And the answer surprised me. Globally speaking, because this was a global survey, it came back at under 50%. And in the US, it came back at under 50%. And that's frightening to me, actually. Because if you think about today, with unemployment sub 4, interest rates really low and not going up, this is, historically speaking, my 2 decades of doing this kind of feels like the best time. And if we have more than half of us collectively kind of feeling like the next 5 years we're going to be worse off than today, that's not good, right? There's something there. There's something there. So I'd love to hear from you on that. But really scary is the UK, 27%. So 1 in 4 thought they'd be better off, which means 3 out of 4 thought they wouldn't be. That's scary. And the reason that's scary to me is because I believe in a consumer-based economy, the consumer has to be confident about the future. And just taking the UK at 27%, if that's a true number and a overall representation of their consumers, I'm guessing they're going to be saving their butt off. They're not going to be buying. They're not going to do any capital investments. They're not going to improve their house. They're going to save. And that's going to grind their economy to a halt. That's how all of this ties together in my mind, is if consumers lose confidence about the future, they save. If they're confident in the future, they spend. You can argue, is the future a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years? That's all different conversations. But if you have 1 in 4, actually 3 in 4 people saying they're not confident, My guess is the UK is in for a recession because they're not going to be spending money. So that's something that we really need to think about. And if you want to say capitalism doesn't work or it does more harm than good, I it's kind of like throwing rocks at a glass house. What do you suggest? Um, yeah, I totally agree. Capitalism is lifted than any other time. So I totally agree with you. That's obviously where I stand. But if you're in the camp that capitalism does more harm than good, I'd love to hear what you recommend. Is it socialism? Is it communism? Is it some other ism that I have no experience with or research on? You know, it's fine to say it doesn't work, but let's not just point fingers. Let's talk about it. So I think as the little, I don't know, chat bubble or whatever that was talked about, capitalism without question has helped raise more people out of abject poverty than any other system. So it may not be perfect or great, but it is certainly better than the alternatives, my opinion. Next up, I was really scared by this. One of the Democratic nominees, I guess, no, not nominees, candidates, I don't know, running for the office. He was asked how he would handle a recession. And he didn't say this exactly, but this is what I heard him say, is he would just hand money to everybody. What? We're going to have I wrote it down. Money, we're going to get money into the hand of the people. We will have a trickle up economy. I don't even know where to start with that kind of thinking. All that would do is, yes, it would spark demand as soon as the check showed up. I mean, in my lifetime, I think there was a time where we got like $800 check from the government. It might have been 400. Maybe it was 800 for couples and 400 individually. I'm not sure what, basically people went out and had a nice dinner or party, as I recall. It didn't move the needle. I remember significant first-time homebuyer tax credit during the crash. That had an artificial bump we paid for later as demand got pulled forward. My history with an economics degree and an MBA is if you want to stimulate an economy in a recession, you can lower taxes, which sparks people to invest. You can lower interest rates, make the cost of debt cheaper, or you can make it easier to get loans to take a capitalistic or an entrepreneur bent. Simply sending everybody $100 in the mail every month is foolish, to say the least, in my opinion. So I don't get that. It's a sexy title. It may get lots of votes, right? If you're trying to win an election, maybe you say silly things like that. But yeah, I don't. That's just craziness. Next up, I don't know if you saw this. Amazon wants to turn your hand into a credit card. When I saw that, I was thinking, oh my God, they're going to put chips in people, which I think is eventually going to happen. But I'm like, oh my God, they're going to be first. It actually wasn't a chip. They're gonna take your palm print like you see on all those movies, and that's how you're gonna identify yourself. Which is I don't know how I feel about that. What's wrong with the credit card? I don't get it. Why do you want to make it a palm instead of a piece of plastic? I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe a credit card is easier to lose, and you don't. I've never lost my hands, so I don't know. But it's like some sci-fi stuff coming our direction. So that was pretty interesting. And then just the last thing I saw before I hit live was Boeing is very quickly going out and looking to raise $10 billion to help fund their operations as the 737 Supermax extends on. It's already been grounded 11 months. Can you believe that's been 11 months? And I don't know if you saw it, but last week we talked about them finding I'll call it a glitch in their software that was problematic. So it's multiple problems at this point. Again, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Still go back to those texts. I'm really glad that we don't have any more emails coming to light. Right, there was a time last week or the week before. I'm like, oh my God, if the floodgates open and we get more emails from internal Boeing employees that aren't good, this could be a real big problem. I'm so thankful that didn't continue. It was only kind of that one day. So in the end, look for an interview with Greg talking about are we up for a crash? We talked single family homes first, then multifamily, then the stock market. Again, that'll be up in 3 or 4 hours. As for this, IMF says the global economy is going to slow down. I think they're the kind of organization that points at the scoreboard and goes, hey, look, it's slow. So I think next year, or this year now, wow, we're already in 2020. It's going to be a good year, actually. Growth is going to accelerate. Saw an article about capitalism. Does it do more harm than good? Really saw that the UK is in for a recession. If it's true that 1 in 3 and 4 people think they're going to be worse off in 5 years, I mean, I know if I felt that way, I'd be saving everything I could. So I would expect the UK, if that data is to be true, to be in a recession. We'll see what happens because, again, this is all about tracking consumers. And if consumers don't have confidence, they're not going to spend. Saw somebody talk about trickle up economy by just mailing people money. That was crazy. And of course, we have Amazon turning your hand into a credit card. Caught my attention. So that's the daily Millionaire News. I hope you enjoy it. We are now doing horizontal because you all asked for it. And if you like it, that's what we'll do. Have a wonderful day. Take care.